Millennials, the quick and easy scapegoat for any problem you might have in your life. Girlfriend broke up with you? Millennials did it. Overcooked the steak on your grill? Millennials did it. It's like millennials are roaming around your town on a warthog straight out of Halo, just gunning down everything you know and love. All while vaping their sick jewels and getting their man bun tugged on by their gender-fluid nano-dolphin partner. Applebee's, golf, ownership, and marriage, all being slowly choked to death by some pencil-necked coastal elite who spends more on coffee every month than gasoline. Hello there, I am your sweet boy, Yammie Noob, back once again this time to discuss millennials and motorcycles. Being a millennial myself and a motorcycle rider, this topic is near and dear to my heart. There's been a few different articles that have come out recently saying that millennials just aren't interested in motorcycles. We just don't care about freedom, about two-wheeled fun. All we want are communist, whole-grain, non-GMO, gluten-free hybrids that cost $5,000 and we can park them and never use them as we travel between our apartments in congested cities with Ubers. What a time to be alive. And while I could make a jibe about how this is because most media in today's world is controlled by a cabal of octogenarian white men who think that saying happy holidays is a crime against humanity, I really prefer to blame our 24 hours news cycle's constant treadmill of content, which, hey, I'm kind of benefiting from here. People need something to talk about, and Harley-Davidson's dipping stock price and an industry trend suggesting that millennials don't really care about bikes anymore is enough to start pooping out some articles for major publications, even though it is hilarious watching mainstream media types discussing motorcycles. They just don't understand that the baiku is my waifu. Today I want to look at a few key points as I tread the dangerous line of somehow offending every single demographic that watches my videos. 1. Are millennials actually not riding as much as previous generations? How true is that? 2. If that is the case, why are they not riding as much? What's causing this? And 3, what can we say about why millennials should start considering riding motorcycles? Now let's get to it. Let's look at the first claim. Millennials just aren't riding as much as previous generations. This is true, but it doesn't encapsulate the whole story. The truth is, everyone is riding less. Across all demographics, motorcycle ownership is down. Harley ownership in particularly is down, but this is largely due to massively changing tastes and a demographic that is getting older and not being supplemented by younger people. Does this mean that people are more afraid of bikes, that they're just not willing to jump on two-wheel death traps and give it a go? Not necessarily. We can't discount the fact that there have been massive economic changes in the last 10 years or so in most countries around the world since the Great Recession, but in particular the United States of America. As much as we gearheads don't want to admit it, motorcycles are a bit of a luxury item for most people. Yes, I know they are serious forms of transportation for many people, both in the US and around the world. However, for most people in our car-driven world, get it? Car-driven?
Right, no respect. I don't get no respect at all. You have no respect at all.
A motorcycle is a toy. Some folks get seriously upset when you call their pride and joy a toy, but that is exactly what they are for most people. And for millennials in particular, it's a toy which has a cost that's really difficult to justify. The 2008 recession left lasting scars on our economy and our psyches. It's estimated that 1 in 5 households were significantly and negatively affected by that event. Considering that most millennials were rather young when the financial system just about imploded under the weight of credit default swaps and easy money, it colored our perception on saving, spending, and the underlying assumptions that the good times just never end. That in America, as long as consumption is cruising, people are buying houses, wages barely outpacing inflation, and I have access to credit cards to finance my dream purchases, everything is okay. This is fine. There's a reason millennials are seen as the quote-unquote broke generation, between stagnant wages, crippling student debt for most, and costs of living that are greatly outpacing inflation. The rent is too damn high. Most millennials really are actually broke. It causes them to defer nearly all major life decisions like home buying, getting married, having children. But for the scope of this video, it places the dream of owning a motorcycle squarely out of reach for most people. Consider this. The monthly payment on a financed motorcycle costing about $8,000 would probably be around somewhere in the $150 a month vicinity, assuming a reasonable interest rate and a 60-month note. For many millennials, that's getting close to a student loan payment every month, not considering the fact that this motorcycle will have to be insured and maintained. For many of today's young people, this is a completely unrealistic expense, and further, it's an expense that just doesn't really make sense for a lot of them. Taking tastes aside, we'll get to that later in this video, millennials don't really see the value in plugging money into a depreciating asset for the sole purpose of having fun. We're a frugal generation, one in which 1 out of every 6 of us has over $100,000 saved in a direct savings account or investment vehicle, which is what I call all the motorcycles that I've owned. This is why all of the top 10 best-selling motorcycles in 2016 were priced under $10,000 according to RideNow.com, because the prospect of purchasing a $20,000 Harley or BMW seems absolutely insane to most millennials, which, as a side note, that's a clever trick that Harley can pull off. It straddles that line of a working man's bike, and yet I've only ever met dentists in a midlife crisis who just pulled the trigger on some $35,000 fat boy. Harleys are an interesting case study on the faltering demand in motorcycle ownership, as Lemmy from Revzilla pointed out in his video about how Harley is struggling and trying to redefine themselves. Many Americans equate motorcycling with Harleys, and so if their sales are down, it must mean people don't care about bikes anymore. But truthfully, I think Harleys just don't really resonate with millennials that much. The chromed out, big burbling V-twin and cruiser aesthetics just don't really cut it for a generation that's much more likely to spend half as much buying a high-tech Ducati. And consider how value-driven most millennials are. They'll likely see that price tag and decide that their money is better spent somewhere else. Beyond the base financial implications, there's also the cultural ones too. Motorcycles are dangerous, no two ways about it. And in a world where safety regulations, dieting, and not smoking all go hand in hand, bikes almost look like a relic of the past, like a doctor smoking a cigarette in an operating room, or your grandpa eating steak and drinking whiskey every night. It feels borderline anachronistic at times, which is rather ironic that many modern manufacturers' best-selling bikes are retro-styled machines with modern amenities. Seems that everyone pines for days past, even millennial, when those days were actually their grandparents' days. Triumph listed record sales in the last year, driven largely by a demand for retro-styled bikes. It's why Ducati is leaning so hard, get it? Leaning hard? God, I'm on a roll today. On their Scrambler lineup, even if the new Desert Sled costs well over $12,000 out the door. People still love that retro look and feel, and they don't seem to mind the smaller displacement either. And this might be better explained by the larger trend of mass urbanization. In case you live under a rock, the US is undergoing a massive shift in terms of who lives in cities and who lives in rural areas. Most folks are concentrating themselves into what is being commonly referred to as megalopolises. Megalopoli? It's a massive area that's mostly all built up around a major city. You know what I'm talking about. In my case, that would be the Dallas-Fort Worth area, where suburban sprawl will likely reach Oklahoma any day now. In the future, as opportunities continue to concentrate themselves in large cities, the impetus to own a car will likely go down, particularly as self-driving cars hit the scene. But already in big metro areas, motorcycles make a whole hell of a lot of sense. They're small, they can cut through traffic, they're crazy fuel efficient. It's pretty normal for a motorcycle to get well over 60 miles per gallon, and you can park them anywhere. With parking spaces becoming ever more pricey and rare, this is an extremely important benefit. In places like the Bay Area, New York City, Sydney, and more, motorcycles are everywhere. An interesting idea I came across while doing research for this video is that motorcycles might be seeing a decline in popularity due to the decreased usage of dirt bikes among young kids, which can be thought of as a gateway drug for motorcycle riding. I love imagining some guy in a van hanging out on the street corner with a bunch of 50cc dirt bikes telling kids that the first one's free. Or maybe, and this is the cheap and easy answer, it's that we millennials just love experiences and don't value things as much. Even though tons of studies are showing that as millennials age, we're caving to the same consumerist demands as previous generations as we move into the suburbs, buy houses, and eat at crappy commercialized fast casual restaurants. There's ideas around motorcycles as experiences, as perhaps as a service. A few companies are trying to create sharing economy ideas around bikes, and maybe that will work. Only time will tell. And as easy as it is to cast a wide net on millennials and say that they're lazy, they're goofy, they're entitled, and they just plain old hate on motorcycles, you have to remember that you're talking about a group of people that contains about 80 million individuals. Much like many other millennials, I love motorcycles. I love riding them, I love talking about them, I hope that they'll never go away. But I'm also cognizant of the fact that things are different nowadays, and it's just not as easy to own them as it was before. It's not like in the 70s where a school janitor could afford a house, feed his entire family, and have his wife stay at home. Things are just different, and who knows? Motorcycles might not even be around in a generation or two, so we should embrace them, enjoy it while it lasts, and let the whippersnappers of tomorrow know that I cracked dank woolies on a leader bike in the year of our Lord 2018, while Lil Pump's Gucci Gang blasted out of the custom modded speaker on my Jewel. That's life for millennials, and that's what matters. Thanks for checking out this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, hope you liked it, hope you got a laugh or two. What do you think about millennials and motorcycles? Are you a millennial yourself? I know plenty of you who watch my videos are, so please chime in the comments below and let me know what you think. If you enjoyed it, feel free to subscribe. I post up new videos every week, and I have a bit of a surprise coming this Thursday, so stay tuned. If you want a sneak peek as to what that is, go to my Instagram at Yammie_noob, and you can find out more. Thanks, and I'll catch you next time. Fact: Yammie spent 4 years as a chocolatier in Switzerland learning how to craft the finest candies and sweets in order to seduce young riders into buying more Daytonas. Goodbye.